Kier Starmer has provided a response today to the public uproar surrounding the UK grooming gang scandal. And let's put it this way, what he did not say is just as shocking. Hey up and welcome to Political Nerds. I'm Steph the Alter Nerd, your nerdy political guide from Washington DC to Westminster and beyond. In today's video, I'm going to explain through using linguistic analysis what Kier Starmer here really was saying today in his response to the grooming gang scandal. Now, I'm no major expert in linguistic analysis, however, through my degree, I know a little bit. I'm also, through this video, not inciting hatred to anyone or a particular group, religion, etc. So let's jump into it and let's kick things off.
On the question of Elon Musk, look, I think most people are more interested in what's going to happen to the NHS, frankly, than what's happening on Twitter. But
okay, right there, right off the bat, he's trying to turn Elon Musk into a joke and essentially delegitimize him, saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's essentially saying that Elon Musk is talking about an issue that the majority of people are not worried about. Instead, they're more worried and interested in what's happening with the NHS. He's also trying to turn Elon Musk into a joke. You see the heavy breath that Starmer made towards the end? It's as if he's going, ha! Elon has missed talking about a more important issue. Gotcha, Elon. He's also delegitimizing Elon by using Twitter against him, saying that people are more interested in the NHS rather than Twitter. I don't think so. And before we go any further, this is all my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever throughout this video. Do your own research, come to your own conclusions, guys. But let's continue, because, guys, it gets worse.
you asked me a really important question that's been in the news for the last few days. I am going to, with permission, just answer it quite fully because it is a really important set of issues.
This is the thing, right? He's asked about the grooming gang scandal, but starts off trying to delegitimise Elon and Twitter. He then goes on this whole long, convoluted little speech about saying he'll now answer the actual question put towards him. But firstly, he could not help himself putting a dig against Elon and Twitter. This is all also used as a delaying tactic, as he tries to form an answer to the actual question put towards him.
And let me start with this. Child sexual exploitation is utterly sickening. Utterly sickening.
Well, duh. Of course it is. But notice what he says here and how he says it. He says utterly sickening twice. For me, he is showing his desperation, as for him wanting to be believed that he's taking this matter seriously. But furthermore, his desperation for the public to trust in him and trust that he's taking this matter seriously. As far as I'm concerned, nice try, but it's not worked with me.
And for many, many years, too many victims have been completely let down by perverse ideas about community relations, or by the idea that institutions must be protected above all else.
Again, you see the repetition there that I mentioned earlier on, where he says, let down, let down. He also sanitizes this issue by saying they were let down by perverse ideas about community relations. Now, this for me is watering down the issue. Because no, the victims were let down because institutions did not want to be seen as somehow racist against the Muslim perpetrators. It also sanitizes the group involved in this, because Elon Musk is saying institutions rather than specifically calling them out. You know, the local councils, the police forces, the politicians, etc. And
they've not been listened to and they've not been heard. And when I was chief prosecutor for 5 years, I tackled that head on.
So did you hear there the emphasis on the number 5 there? It's as if he's trying to turn around and be like, you know, I was in the trenches for such a long time. 5 years. But it's not really a long time in the grand scheme of things, when reportedly this whole grooming gang scandal has been going on for decades. His 5 years is just a drop in the ocean. But the emphasis on the 5 is there to make you believe that he's been there for the majority of it, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. Did you also notice the last little bit of how he said it before I paused that video clip? I tackled that head on. He rushed to get that last part out. Now, this could indicate that he doesn't have faith in what he said there and does not believe he actually tackled that head on. You see, sometimes when people lie, they want to get it out as fast as possible to not give people a chance to catch on if it's an actual lie in the first place.
Because I could see what was happening. And that's why I reopened cases that had been closed and supposedly finished. I brought the first major prosecution of an Asian grooming gang. In the particular case, it was in Rochdale, but it was the first of its kind. There were many that then followed that format.
So I noted that 1 minute 12, this is where he somewhat names the elephant in the room. He says, Asian grooming gang. Now, this is still sanitising language, as he's not calling a spade and saying what everyone else is saying. Muslim grooming gang. He's also trying to get everyone to pat him on the back. It's very narcissistic. You know, look what I've done in my career as chief prosecutor for 5 long years, right? Look at my resume. This is the thing. He's trying to build credibility with the public regarding this whole scandal based on what he did in the past as chief prosecutor. He's trying to create a false sense of credibility in my mind.
I changed the whole prosecution approach.
Did you notice that right there? The correction. What I see it as a false start. He went from we changed to I changed. Again, that's quite narcissistic. Look what I did. You can trust me.
Because I wanted to challenge and did challenge the myths and stereotypes that were stopping those victims being heard. So we changed the entire approach, not without criticism at the time, I might add.
Again, see the false start again? He went from I wanted to challenge to I did challenge. But to me, there's no conviction in his words there. You either wanted to challenge or you did challenge. It's not one or the other. As Yoda says in Star Wars, and I'm paraphrasing here, there's no try, there's only do. Swapping from I wanted to challenge to I did challenge shows to me that, in my opinion, he does not believe he actually challenged at all.
And when I left office, we had the highest number of child sexual abuse cases being prosecuted on record. Now, that record is not secret.
See, he's laughing a little here. But this is no laughing matter. Why is he laughing? Why is he smiling? What the deuce? It's as if saying, I've got nothing to hide, when so many of us are accusing him of hiding something in the first place.
As a public servant, it's there for all of you or everybody to see.
You see, here he's emphasising that he's a public servant by saying he is one, trying to state that he's serving the public, that he's not acting against us, he's with us, that he has nothing to hide, by again emphasising this by repeating his words. It's there for all of you, everybody to see. Again, to me, he's showing his desperation to be trusted as a public servant serving us and having nothing to hide. Again, for Kier Starmer, try harder, dude. Try harder.
I also called for mandatory reporting of child sexual abuse. I called for that a decade ago. The Tories did nothing about that for those 10 long years, including when the J report came out nearly 3 years ago now. Central plank, mandatory reporting, still hasn't been done. We're going to do it.
So, over 2 minutes in there, 2:11 to be precise, he then starts by saying the actions he's going to take to tackle this issue after trying to delegitimise Elon Musk on Twitter, sanitising his words as to how he describes the issue of grooming gangs in the first place, and trying to desperately get us to trust him through use of repetition and giving us his resume as such as chief prosecutor back in the day. So it's all about attacking his enemies, playing the issue down, and trying to get us to trust him before he then goes into what he'll actually do to tackle the issue in the first place.
But let's just to bring it in closer, and I will answer you on Jess Phillips in particular, because those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible, they're not interested in victims. They're interested in themselves.
Now, he's changed his tactic and he's trying to demonise those trying to get the truth out there. Those that are talking about the issue on social media, etc. He's saying we're not interested in the victims, but only in ourselves. Now, he's inferring here that he's the opposite. You see, think about it. He discussed his resume earlier on as chief prosecutor back in the day. There and now he's inferring, based on his track record, that he's actually the one interested in the victims. And as he called himself a public servant earlier on, here he's inferring that he's not interested in himself. He's interested in the public and serving the public. Well, guess what? All right? Let's put it this way. I am interested in the victims here. Why? Because I am also a victim of child sexual abuse. Now, I'm not a victim of grooming gangs. Let me be very, very clear on that. But, and I've been very honest about it on the internet, guys, I am a victim of child sexual abuse. Could Kier Starmer turn round to me, look me in the eye and say, I'm not interested in the victims, I'm only interested in myself, when I am an actual victim of child sexual abuse myself? I dare him. I double freaking dare him. The cheek of this dude, I'm telling you.
Those who are cheerleading Tommy Robinson, not interested in justice. They're supporting a man who went to prison for nearly collapsing a grooming case, a gang grooming case.
Now, here we go. He's trying to introduce an enemy into the whole situation, right? Trying to shift the crosshairs being aimed at him to shifting the crosshairs to be aimed at Tommy Robinson. To me, he also has no confidence in what he's talking about here because he had to correct himself, saying that Tommy went to prison for nearly collapsing a grooming case. Then says a gang grooming case after that. Now, this is the thing. Think about it. If you're confident in what you're saying, then you say it right the first time. Alternatively, you may not say it right the first time as your mind may actually be elsewhere. Which one do you think is the case for Keir right here?
These are people who are trying to get some kind of vicarious thrill from street violence that people like Tommy Robinson promote.
Now he's demonising the everyday British person from last year's summer protests. And demonised Tommy even more, saying he promoted the street violence. But guess what? He didn't. I saw the videos myself on Twitter from Tommy Robinson. He went on Twitter to promote calm. He actually told them, don't be violent, because that's what the system wants. Any excuse to lock you up, so don't do it. Keir here accuses Tommy and Elon Musk for spreading misinformation, but this is a trick to try and hide who the real misinformation spreader is. And guess what? As far as I'm concerned, it's Kier Starmer himself. Here he is trying to gaslight the British public further.
And those attacking Jess Phillips, who I'm proud to call a colleague and a friend.
Oh my goodness. Did you hear that pause? There was that pause between colleague and friend. Now, this is distancing language. Because if she was both a colleague and a friend, then he would say it in tandem with each other without the pause. He would just say, like this, and those attacking Jess Phillips, who I'm proud to call a colleague and a friend. But there was that pause between colleague and friend. So, how much of a friend is really Jess Phillips to Kier Starmer? Well, based on that distancing languaging, sorry, when I can get my teeth back in, based on that distancing language that is just displayed there, I don't think she's much of a friend at all, let's put it that way.
Not protecting victims. Jess Phillips has done 1,000 times more than they've even dreamt about when it comes to protecting victims of sexual abuse throughout her entire career.
So, notice when he talks about victims throughout this whole speech, he says victims of child sexual abuse. He does not say victims of Muslim grooming gangs. And if she is such a friend, then why doesn't he mount up more of a defence for her? Just like he's defended himself. Why not provide instances as to how she has protected victims, just like he provided instances as to what he did earlier on in this whole speech when he was chief prosecutor?
And so just as I took on the criminal justice system and the institutions when I was chief prosecutor, I'm prepared to call out this for what it is. We've seen this playbook many times, whipping up of intimidation and threats of violence, hoping that the media will amplify it.
His narcissistic nature, in my opinion, then pulls him back to talk about himself. Wow, what a defence he provided for his colleague and friend, right? This is laughable. He also then tries to diminish us, the public, by saying we're acting from a playbook. So in other words, we're trying to play a game. And this infers that we have no handle on the actual real-life situation of what is happening with these grooming gangs. So he's trying to delegitimise us, our knowledge, our concerns and issues that we have with it. What a wonderful thing a public servant is doing towards the public.
Now, Jess Phillips does not need me or anybody else to speak on her behalf. But when the poison of the far right leads to serious threats to Jess Phillips and others, then in my book, a line has been crossed.
He's now trying to equate everyone speaking out against the grooming gangs and concerned about the issue as far right. Again, trying to demonise the British public and delegitimise us. By doing so, he's actually trying to silence us because no one really wants to be called far right or, by extension, be labelled as racist when they're not. So this, in my opinion, is actually Kier Starmer trying to intimidate us into silence. But guess what? That's not going to work, mate. He's then trying to say that they are the victims too in all of this. Look at all the threats they're getting. Dude, you're politicians. You're in the public eye. Of course there's an element of that happening, regardless of this issue of grooming gangs being in the public eye or not. I've had threats of harm and death threats in the past from the reporting I do on my other channel, Steph the Alternate. So guess what? How about we put the focus back on the actual victims of the situation here? The victims of the grooming gangs.
I enjoy the cut and thrust of politics, the robust debate that we must have. But that's got to be based on facts and truth, not on lies.
Here is trying to control the public narrative on this scandal now. You see, debate does often include people trying to defend or discuss notions that are not true. This is where debate then comes in to teach people that their stance is incorrect and show them why. If debate is based on fact and truth from both sides, then, to be fair, what is there to debate about in the first place? You're both right. If you have facts and truth on both sides, then, to me, you're not having a debate, but you're having a conversation at that point. There's nothing to persuade one over the other with. So, in other words, guys, Kier Starmer will only have a discussion with you about this, not a debate, if you prescribe to his version of facts and truth.
Not on those who are so desperate for attention that they're prepared to debase themselves and their country.
So anyone talking out about and against the grooming gang scandal and the government are desperate for attention. Again, this is another way Keir is trying to delegitimise and attack the British public, the politicians and anyone else talking out about and against this scandal.
So this government will get on with the job of protecting victims, including child sexual abuse.
Wow. Wow. This is, to me, one of the most shocking moments in this whole answer from Kier Starmer. Why? Because he's just proven to me this is all an afterthought for him. He should have said, right, quote, so this government will get on with the job of protecting victims of child sexual abuse. But instead, he says victims including child sexual abuse. This word, including, indicates to me he was seeing victims, particularly of child sexual abuse, as an afterthought. This is even more shocking when his whole speech is all about the victims of child sexual abuse. And furthermore, this is actually more sanitisation of the issue. He should have been more accurate and say, look, this government will get on with the job of protecting victims of grooming gangs. But he doesn't say that.
Mandatory reporting, accelerating the processes.
You see, here, when you look at what he says overall, he's actually more focused on trying to fix the system rather than sharing some of his focus towards what the government can do to protect our children to stop it from happening in the first place. Maybe because that's harder for him and because he's not mentioned what he would do to protect children in the first place. It's because maybe he doesn't actually have a clue what to do there. See, remember, it's important what these politicians say, but it's just as important, though, what they do not say.
But what I won't tolerate is this discussion and debate based on lies without calling it out.
Here he is again, trying to demean us even more, saying that we don't know what we're talking about. Again, a public servant further gaslighting the public.
What I won't tolerate is politicians jumping on the bandwagon simply to get attention when those politicians sat in government for 14 long years, tweeting, talking, but not doing anything about it. Now so desperate for attention that they're amplifying what the far right is saying.
So here he's trying to infer that you should not trust any other politicians.
So that's what I say.
Other than the Labour government. As I mentioned earlier on, he's desperate, based on his language used, to try and get us to trust him through repetition of certain words. The other politicians, they're the bad guys. They're now far right. So he's demonising the other politicians now?
About Jess Phillips. Thank you.
So that's what I say about Jess Phillips. Thank you. He's trying to divert the issue away from people speaking about, you know, the grooming gangs and against that whole scandal at the end by saying instead that the real issue is the treatment of Jess Phillips. Remember when I said earlier on that it's important to note what the politicians say, but it's just as important to notice what they do not say. So earlier on, a few moments ago, Kier Starmer listed a couple of things he wouldn't tolerate. So he says he won't tolerate a discussion and debate based on lies. Well, as a side note, he's contradicting himself there because he said earlier on that a debate cannot have any lies discussed within it. He also said he won't tolerate politicians jumping on the bandwagon and trying to align them with the far right. Interesting how he does not say that he will not tolerate Muslim grooming gangs or any grooming gangs in our country and will not tolerate the continued unprotection of our children that is happening right now in this country. Kier Starmer needs to resign. And this government must allow a full inquiry to take place in regard to this whole grooming gang scandal without any hesitation. For them to turn round and deny us that is an absolute abomination. And Kier Starmer right here, as far as I'm concerned, has proven that he is not the right leader for our country at all. With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, and believe me, of course, there's going to be more, then please subscribe to join our Alter Nerd tribe here on Political Nerds. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theories, whatevers. What was the most shocking thing that Kier Starmer said in this whole answer right here? Let me know. And with that being said, until the next time, you guys, laters.